Mike Anderson here with the Reno Fly Shop. We're doing another tying demonstration. This one's for the month of September as we head into our fall period. A couple of things happen. The water is going to get lower. It's going to get a little cooler, which means the caddis are going to get a little more active again. And the other thing is that our brown trout are going to get into spawn mode. And for some reason, big browns like chartreuse. So this is the ticket. It's a good caddis pupa imitation, and it's also a very good European style nymphing, kind of just a attractor pattern. And like I said, especially with that chartreuse color, it really attracts those nice big browns. So we're gonna start by tying this by putting into the vise a fire hole 315 in a size 16. Okay, and then the bead I have on there is a 2.5 millimeter just tungsten bead. We're using 12/aught thread today in black. You can use olive if you like to. Doesn't matter too much. And I'm actually going to reposition this just a touch. There we go, just to have a little more horizontal in the vise there. So as I am thinking about the order of how I tie in materials, especially on a fly this simple where I'm basically just tying in a material and then bringing it up the hook shank, I really want to focus on how I tie things in. So the first thing I'm going to tie in is clear midge tubing. The reason that's the first thing I'm tying in is because it's the last thing that I'm going to bring forward when I tie in or when I'm creating this fly. So midge tubing is hollow, which means it's going to really kind of squish down a bit. Even with that 12/aught thread though, with how much pressure we're going to be pulling on it, it is going to be a little tough and can break. We're going to start out by just grabbing this tubing and just giving it a slight pull as we are tying it in. And then that pull is going to increase as I tie down the shank about a quarter of the way through the bend there. And that's going to give me a nice taper as we start to think about the proportions of this fly. The next thing we tie in is just a chartreuse holographic. I like medium because it doesn't bind too much. We're going to bring our thread down. Trap it. See, the reason I like 12/aught thread is I can do a few more securing wraps without worrying about building too much bulk. Build a little bit of a taper, not super necessary for this bug. And then I like to invert my flies when I bring up any tinsel. Makes it a little easier on me until you get to the top. Touching wraps, we don't really want any of that thread exposed, though if it is, it's not the end of the world. It's just better to have that chartreuse color really coming through. And then lastly, I'm going to counter rib my vinyl. Okay, and the reason I like to counter rib is as I'm bringing it up, it's going to create a really nice angle to tie off. And then what I'm going to do is as I'm tying this in, or as I'm bringing it up, I have a good amount of pressure on it right now. Pretty heavy pressure. That's going to thin out that tubing, give me a nice clean taper as I'm coming up the shank. Right around the halfway point, right about here, I lighten up for a turn, I lighten up for a turn again, until this last turn is just pretty light. And you can see this is where I'm talking about. This is a very easy crossing point to tie that off. That's why I like to counter rib most of my last materials, wire, holographic tinsel, doesn't really matter if I'm. So the last material, I like to counter rib it. And then the last thing is just a little bit of ice dub, just for a little bit of a collar. We don't want to overdress this too much, so just a little noodle, not too much. finish her off. So there we go. That is the ticket. Super easy fly to tie. I usually keep these in my box in a 16 and a 14. Those seem to be the good caddis pupa representations and just a good size in general. I tie them on that 315. It's a little bit of a stronger curved hook. It's also the fly or the hook that I use out at Pyramid Lake for my midges. Again, super strong, very sharp point. So this kit, fly tying kit, is available at renoflyshop.com. The flies themselves and the kits are also available in the shop. That's Reno Fly Shop. So tie this up, go fish it. Hope you catch a big one on it. Have a good one.